Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Matt.
This one's yours. You picked us talking about 30 Rock specifically.
Yeah, Merry LudaChristmas!
Specifically, Season 2, Episode 9, LudaChristmas.
Oh, my gosh. So, my history with 30 Rock, I wasn't so much into the show when it first aired. It wasn't something I was watching regularly. So, the show started in 2017.
Yeah.
Or 2017. 2007. Oh, geez. 2007.
Yeah,
Not
that makes
2017.
more sense. That makes more sense. That checks out.
During the original run, it was like running at the same time The Office was, and of course, The Office got more play.
But this is such a better script.
Yeah, in my opinion, like 30 Rock does not get the love it deserves.
No, 30 Rock is right there with like Community as one of the tightest written sitcoms of all time.
Yeah, I feel like when we talk about NBC sitcoms, everyone talks about The Office, everyone talks about Parks and Rec, and I feel like 30 Rock and Community, they have their audience.
They certainly do,
which you and I are both part of that audience, but they don't get like that push like the other two do for some reason. So I discovered 30 Rock when it was like on November, like 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm just sitting there scrolling through and I'm like, you know what I haven't watched? 30 Rock. Never watched it. Always loved Donald Glover. And I knew he wrote for 30 Rock. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to check this out. Absolutely fell in love with it. I think it's so close to my heart, specifically around the time of year, November, December, because it's set in New York. And everybody thinks of New York when they think of big Christmases and stuff like that. So I knew when we started this podcast, I knew I wanted to talk about LudaChristmas for sure.
It's a really good episode. I mean, 30 Rock as a whole, as a show, is so smart, and it's not my favorite show. We'll be talking about that soon, but it is definitely in like my top, if not my top 10, my top 20 for sure. It's a show where what I love about it is that it is super brash.
Yeah.
It's very quick. It's very, at times, very mean-spirited. It really kind of in the same way that like a show like South Park is, where like it insults so many different things that like it's never really un-PC because it's so inclusive in its like offensiveness. But at its core, it's a bunch of characters that really truly do care about each other. It's very similar to Community.
Yes.
In that way, where it's like the writer's room. Like, I think we said something about this. So I said this to somebody somewhere, but like I don't buy for 1 second that the cast member, like that the characters in the office.
Yeah, we got into that during our Community episode.
Yeah, like I don't buy that the characters in the office would hang out with each other, but I do believe that like the characters in 30 Rock that are writers, that like they are smart with like who actually hangs out with each other in the writing of the show. Like it's not like all of them are family and they all hang out. It's like, no, like these specific
Lutz
characters
isn't hanging out with Alec Baldwin's character.
No,
like
and
Jack.
And it builds this really cool relationship. Like I think that the relationship between Jack and Liz is one of the greatest platonic relationships that has ever been like put on television.
I agree.
Because it's like there is always that slight element of sexual tension.
Yeah.
But it's never addressed.
No.
It's never examined. It's never looked into because they are at their core, Jack is disgusted by Liz.
Yeah. And I love that because whenever it is brought up, whenever it is like even mentioned, both of them are like, ugh, no, like gross.
But like their friendship is so funny. And I know that we've covered it on one of the podcasts I produced, my favorite episode of. And I said, what I like about the show is after you watch it, like it's very much the butting heads of Liz that is like the most hardcore stereotypical liberal character and Jack who's the most hardcore stereotypical conservative character. But at the end of the day, because they constantly interact, like Jack becomes more open-minded and Liz becomes a little bit more business-minded. And like it kind of in this weird, offensive, fucked up way that 30 Rock is written, it shows the like potential of like working together instead of working against each other with your differences.
Yeah.
But there's never a dramatic moment. There's never a true moment of drama or emotion in this, but you feel emotion watching the characters.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I love about it is the stakes are never too high.
No.
But it still has those did you cry moments.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Did you cry while watching this episode?
Did I cry while watching this episode? Thinking back, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think that 30 Rock, it does have moments where, like, usually when you cry, you can pinpoint what made you cry.
Yeah.
But I think
There was a lot of awe.
Yeah,
moments.
there's a lot of awe in 30 Rock, and there's a lot of, like, it's just so wholesome that sometimes it's just that you're, like, laughing to the point of tears, but it's
Yeah.
like joy tears.
Yeah.
Like, because Liz's family is, like, so over the top.
over the top wholesome. At some
Dude, Andy Richter is Mitch.
Oh my God, Mitch. Andy Richter does not get enough love.
No.
At all. I love the concept of Mitch. This was after 50 First Dates, right? When that movie came out in like 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very similar concept. There was a ski accident, and he believes that it's 1985.
It's played to such a more absurd level than 50 First Dates because
yeah.
it's been like 25 years.
Yeah. And if you sit there and you're watching the episode and you start to pick away at it, don't. Because
He's like, when he finally realizes everything's like, I've wasted my life.
I could have been drinking these all the time.
I will say that this episode is probably the least amount of juggling plot lines.
Yeah.
Because 30 Rock, you've got like 5 plot lines in the air at once. This one's a little bit more focused. It's like the Jack and Liz story and LudaChristmas.
LudaChristmas, yep.
But it's good.
No, you've got the Jack and his mom storyline, Liz and family storyline, and those commingle, of course. Then you have the overall LudaChristmas angle, which Tracy Jordan is he has an ankle bracelet now. He's not allowed to drink.
Yeah, and it's the best time of the year because it's LudaChristmas followed by Nude Year's Eve.
Oh yeah, it's hold on. What are you talking about? It's LudaChristmas, and then after that, New Year's Eve, and then after that, Martin Luther King Day. All you do is drink.
So good. And that's like the lines. There's so many lines that are firing at, like, every line of dialogue is basically a joke setting up the storyline so quickly that, like, you can blink and miss it.
Yes.
So, like, one of the lines is Jack is super excited that his mom isn't going to make it home for Christmas. Like, she's not going to be able to join him for Christmas. And he's thrilled about it. Because there was a hurricane coming and it landed her plane. But then she shows up and his assistant goes, she got JetBlue to accept her Amtrak ticket. But, like, there's so many moments where, like, the hatred he has for his mother is so funny. And the two that, like, stick out at me is at one point he's just looking at a house being decimated by the hurricane. He's like, she should have been there.
She should have been there. Yep.
She should have been there. But also they're having the crazy LudaChristmas party and they bring in what is basically a prostitute, and she's hacking and coughing everywhere, which is really uncomfortable in 2020. But she's in the corner coughing, and he just, like, dips his mom's food underneath her. It's so mean-spirited.
It is.
It's so good.
But at the same time, like, there's something different about it.
Yeah,
where
but
it doesn't feel
because
mean-spirited.
she's so awful.
She's
such an awful person.
Terrible, and she eventually tears Liz's family apart.
Which is like, that's like the one thing where it's like, I don't know how I feel about this, because, like, there's that part of me that's like, but I want their I want them to defeat.
Yeah.
I want them to, like, overcome this awful human being, and instead she wins.
All right, so we start off, we're in Jack's office, and Liz comes in. They're talking about Christmas, and the company gift this year is the photo scanner / paper shredder. And she goes, so what happens if they accidentally shred their photos? And he's like, no. If you want a photo scan, you switch it to PS. If you want a paper shred, you switch it to PS. It's like dumb shit like that.
It's dumb stuff, but it keeps coming up because, like, the paper shredder photo scanner comes up like 4 different times throughout the episode.
Yeah, that's where Jack mentions that he's like, no, it's gonna be a good holiday this year because his mother is not able to make it because she's in the eye of the storm. And then all of a sudden she shows up, and I love her line where she's like, "Oh, Jack, isn't this the same office you had last year? I thought you were up for promotion. And he's like, Mother, there's only 2 bigger offices in the entire building. Only 2? I don't like those odds. You better let that dream die.
She's the worst. She's so mean. But yeah, he gets very excited because Liz's family's coming in.
Yeah.
And he thinks that something's up because he's been raised this whole time with like just condescension.
She's like, yeah, we're going to go ice skating. We're going to go see Jersey Boys on Broadway. We're going to do all these things. And he's like, oh, you must be a ball of anxiety. She's like, no, I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh God, and her playing into her brother Mitch. You want to go to the thing? Joke's on you. You can't. It's only for the seniors. And she's like, oh,
you got me.
He's like, guess who's going? Your boyfriend. Don't you wish you would kiss him? Oh no, boys are gross. Like, he just got a divorce. Oh, is he single?
It's so good. We're not going to go in order. We're just going to jump around. I like when they end up going to dinner. They're at the restaurant and fucking Jack's mom goes, I just don't know what to decide. The pictures of the food look so good.
Well, so one more thing with Mitch is that she convinces Jack, she's like, you can talk to Mitch about Ronald Reagan. He's like, that's right. In his mind, Ronald Reagan is still president, you lucky bastard.
So let's also touch on the fact Jenna has obviously had sexual relations with Mitch.
Yes, but he doesn't remember it. There's a line that I wrote down. It's after he's hung out with her family for a while. And she's like, see?
Is it the cruise?
No. She's like, see? Like, there's something good about having people give positive reinforcement. And he's like, well, no, when they do it to you, it's pity. For me, I actually am the best skater and I did a good job eating my muffin.
I love it because that is around the same time where he's like, Liz, I don't really need this family. But by the way, this family cruise we're talking about, are you in or are you out?
And that's the thing that I really love about Jack's character specifically is like, he is both a very conservative, strong businessman.
Yeah.
But God, he wants a nice, loving family in his life. Like that's like all he wants. And like he loves the Lemons. So, and I'm pretty sure that that's like a theme throughout the rest of the show is he's always excited when the Lemons are in town.
Yeah. I mean, him and Cece go to these small towns and that's like a huge plot line of him not wanting to leave. They like throw their phones in the water and everything. Yeah.
This is a really like, it's funny because you were like, oh, I watch LudaChristmas every year. And I guess for me, because I have so many Christmas DVDs, I never even think about grabbing like the seasons of TV shows that have Christmas episodes in it because it's just like, oh, that's so much work. This one might become one that I watch regularly now because it is just like...
It's so wholesome.
It's so wholesome, even with like the darkness in it.
Yeah.
But we've talked a lot about the Jack and Liz stuff. Let's talk about the whole LudaChristmas.
Okay.
And Kenneth almost ruining LudaChristmas.
Oh my gosh. All right. So we have LudaChristmas, which is the big party thrown by the writers and everyone at 30 Rock.
And I want, one of them's wearing a shirt that says LudaXmas in big letters on it. And I want that shirt.
You want that shirt. I love, there's like dumb lines in this that I love. I love when Jenna shows up and she's like, oh, LudaChristmas, that's tonight? Oh, I forgot all about it, and takes it off and has this like fantastic dress on.
Well, what does she say that at one point she's like, hopefully I don't get drunk and sing a bunch of Christmas carols. And then like later on she's like walking around trying to find the best spot to set up the piano.
You have Lutz, who is being his gross self, but I love Lutz a lot. What is the receptionist's name?
Oh, I can never remember, but she's all flirty with Mitch.
She is,
because she knows he won't remember it the next day.
She's like, you should come over next week. We can hang out in the hot tub. And Lutz is like, it's a filthy Christmas miracle.
And then, I mean, we've got all these different things happening, but Kenneth is like, you guys have totally missed
you're missing
the spirit of Christmas.
Because he sees everybody throwing away their photo scanner / paper shredder.
Yeah.
He walks in. It's actually Liz that kind of sets him off because he's like, he hands her her gift and she's like, oh, okay, thank you. And tosses it, basically.
Yeah.
What happens is they show up to the party. And Kenneth is there with a priest.
Yeah. And Grizz.com are on it.
There too. Basically because the reason Tracy has an ankle bracelet on, it's because he had court earlier that day. Yeah. And he showed up to court late, right? He like stopped and got breakfast.
Yeah, he stopped. I think he got drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he went to get breakfast, and they're like, he showed up drunk, and he's like, well, they shouldn't have had alcohol available at the breakfast place.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, he shows up, or they show up to the party, and it's the priest and Kenneth and Grizzin.com, and it's basically an intervention at that point.
The priest at one point finishes singing a song, and this is the other line I wrote down. Kenneth goes, that was fun. It was to the tune of American Pie, but it was so much longer.
And it convinces everybody.
He shows him the video of the kids
playing with the blocks of wood,
which is a terrible green screen. It's like the worst green screen. But then they go crazy.
Yes,
and like they are like, let's cut down the tree.
I know. So they all get outside. Tracy's got a fucking axe in his hand, like they're ready to cut down the Rockefeller tree. And then all of a sudden, you hear a beeping. And Tracy looks down and his ankle bracelet's going off. And he's like, yeah, I've had a few drinks. You probably shouldn't listen to me.
His necklace is a flask.
His necklace. It's so good. It's a TJ flask.
It's so good. And that has the other thing that's really funny about 30 Rock is the way that they will introduce what is an insane concept, and then that insane concept, which feels like it's a throwaway joke, becomes like an actual thing. So he's like, they're watching me at like the ankle bracelet monitoring center or whatever. And it's like cuts to this like crazy like NASA like setup.
Yeah, and everybody's partying there.
Well, before that though, the first time they set it up, it's like you feel like that's just like what Tracy Morgan's imagining it is. And then when the ankle bracelet goes off, it's like, oh no, that was an actual place.
Yeah, they show it again, and everybody's just partying, and nobody's paying attention to Tracy Jordan's ankle brace going off. So that's like our first end of episode, like as we're going out.
Yeah, and then we go back to the Jack and Liz insanity.
Yeah. Okay, so before Jack and his mother start bonding, basically Jack's mom is throwing out as many quips as she can to get this family to turn on each other.
Yeah.
I loved some of those lines where she's like, no grandchildren? Oh, what a shame. Little things like that. And it all comes down to
when Mitch admits that he saw Goonies.
He saw Goonies. He saw Goonies. And she's like, you saw Goonies without me? Like yesterday, 1985? The day of my football game? Which you come to find out that Liz had protested to let girls play on the football team.
She kicks the ball and goes, feminism!
So she's pissed because the family didn't come to her football game. They went to see Goonies, and basically everything comes out onto the table.
Yeah.
The dad's like, I used to play for that football team. Yeah. I used to wear those colors. And you didn't even offer to pay for dinner. I'm on a fixed income.
Well, and then like the mom reveals that they're not really that happy. And then they reveal that Mitch is 40 and he like
he's 40.
And the funniest thing about that is the idea that that's all that needed to be said to like bring it, like all these years no one's just been like, what if we just tell him what his actual age is?
Yeah.
He's like, oh my god, the accident.
And that's one thing that like I started to, again, if you think too much about Mitch's issues, the episode's gonna fall apart for you. But I thought too much about Mitch's issues because I was sitting there like, so tomorrow does he go back to thinking it was 1985 again?
I mean, I would also think about like if your memory is only the day before that trip, like at a certain point you look in the mirror and see yourself and you're like, what happened to me?
They just remove mirrors from his house.
There's just no mirrors in the house.
Basically the family falls apart but
Jack and his mom are tight.
Bond because the mom was right and Jack was kind of right too where the family went. And then we get a final cut to the kids in Africa again.
Getting the paper
they got
shredder.
The paper shredders, and what do they do with them? They're trash.
It's such a good show. It's one of those shows that I always feel like I need to sit down and rewatch. I look forward to like when I have that type of setup where it's just like, oh, I'm just going to edit a bunch of podcasts all day. Let me just throw on like a season of 30 Rock as like some background and like just be able to just be like, I don't have anything distracting me in life. I'm just doing my job, and I'm just putting on my favorite TV shows in the background while I do it.
Yeah, every year I attempt to rewatch it, and I usually get to about season 3 and fall off, and not on purpose. I'm not fuck any season after.
I was gonna say it's one of those. It's one of those few shows that I think never really had a bad season.
No, and I don't actively stop watching it. It's just usually I start it up around November, and then once I start like getting into the meat of the show, Christmas starts happening.
Christmas hits, yeah. I mean, that's because even like some of my favorite shows, I can admit that they had some bad seasons.
Yeah.
But like 30 Rock is definitely one of the most like consistently great. And it starts great.
Yeah.
Like it's not even like one of those shows where it's like, oh, you got to give it like a couple episodes in the first season to get going. No. It's like, no, it knew what it was and it fucking did it right away.
I mean, we talked about this in our community discussion, was where that first season the characters were coming into their own. I feel like with 30 Rock, those characters were those characters.
Yeah, they had them figured out
from the start.
And I'm sure that it helps that like it's clearly a show about writing for SNL, written by a bunch of people who have written for SNL. So like I'm sure that there is really a Lutz in there that they were basing character. Like I think they were basing it on actual people that they know and are friendly with. Because I know for a fact that like a lot of the people in Mean Girls are like based on actual neighbors that Tina Fey had growing up. Like it's like when you have someone that you're like, okay, I know that this person is very close to this human being. You already have like a whole backstory and like weird, like, you know, you don't have to sit there and do like the character sketch where you're like, okay, well, what were they like as a baby? And like, why do they have the issues that they have? And why are they like this? You're just like, oh yeah, it's just my buddy Jeff. I'm just going to base it on Jeff. And whatever Jeff's problems are, that's what this character's problems are too.
I think I definitely have a bias when it comes to 30 Rock because I like shows and movies about the industry.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I absolutely love.
You know who also loves that?
Yeah.
The Emmys and the Oscars.
Yeah. I absolutely love Get Shorty and Be Cool.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I love movies and TV shows based around the industry.
I was just talking to someone the other day about how much I love songs about writing songs. Like that's like its own little genre, and I've never met a song about writing a song that I haven't liked.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what makes 30 Rock stand out to me, because I just like the premise. Plus, the writing is incredible.
So good. It's top notch.
This was a golden age for NBC sitcoms.
NBC was crushing. It's so funny because NBC has like, they have to have like the highest track record as far as like just massive shows.
Yeah. Because
it's like, even before this, like their Thursday nights have been infamously like Thursday night belongs to NBC sitcoms. Because it was like what? There was The Friends, Mad About You, Seinfeld years, and then like you had The Scrubs, Office, Parks and Rec.
Scrubs was ABC. Did it get picked up by NBC at some point?
I thought it was the reverse. I thought it was on NBC and then got picked up by ABC at the very end.
I don't know. When I put it on Hulu, the ABC logo was showing for the first season.
I'm going to make a quick Google.
The Big Four, and maybe it's because this is like the era I grew up.
Scrubs started on NBC and then later moved to ABC for the last season. So.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Community, 30 Rock, Office, Parks and Rec, Scrubs. I want a renaissance, or maybe it's happening and I'm just not paying attention. Are there good NBC sitcoms happening right now?
I don't know. I'm going to Google Thursday night NBC because I'm sure that someone's built a wiki page dedicated to this.
I mean, for a while, ABC kind of took the reins.
Yeah, it looks like their Thursday night. It's Superstore, which is good.
Yeah, I've heard good things. My co-teacher absolutely loves that show.
Oh, here it is. Wikipedia page. Must-see TV. Oh, it started with Buck Rogers in the 25th century in 1979. All right, we don't need to
go that far back.
Okay, let's see. So here's like, I think the first major one was in 1984. It was Cosby Show, Family Ties, Cheers, and Night Court.
Holy shit.
I know. Like, and that kind of was their thing for a pretty decent amount of years. That was what they were running on. Then in 1993, must-see TV was Mad About You, Wings, Seinfeld, and Frasier. Then he became Mad About You, Friends, Seinfeld, and then more Friends. But yeah, for a while it was Seinfeld, Friends, and then a bunch of other shows that they were toying around with, including like Will and Grace and Just Shoot Me and a bunch of other shows that are massive now as well. Scrubs dipped its foot in there as well.
Yeah.
And then it was My Name is Earl, The Office, Scrubs, and 30 Rock.
That's crazy.
It's insane how, and then eventually it turned into Parks and Rec, or Community would be on there. So for a while it was Community, Parks and Rec, The Office, and 30 Rock was their lineup.
And that's like top 4 favorite shows of all time. Like, it's insane.
But now it's like, now I'm looking, so now we're entering 2014 and it's like The Biggest Loser, Bad Judge, and A to Z.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes me sad.
Yeah. Superstore and Good Place,
Good Place was all right.
Good Place was really good, but it definitely became less and less. Let's see, what's the most recent one? The most recent one is 2 hours of an hour of Superstore, and then Law and Order was the 2020 one. But that was unprecedented times. So we'll step out of the pandemic real quick. So last year's lineup was Superstore, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Good Place, and Will and Grace reboot.
Okay, because The Good Place just recently ended.
That's when it ended, yeah.
Right?
So I feel like they lost, like, you know, like 2 of those shows don't exist anymore for the most part. And then, like, you can't film anything new. So, like, I guess it makes sense that it's like, all right, we've got a shit ton of reruns of Superstore that we'll just play.
Yeah.
And then, like, whatever random reality show we can grab.
All right, so let me throw down the gauntlet here. Okay, stepping away from Christmas. I apologize for anybody that just listened to this show for Christmas.
Listen, we're officially late winter, spring, early spring. People don't want to hear us talk about Christmas that much.
I would argue, and this is crazy because I'm talking about an era that doesn't involve Seinfeld, Friends, Frasier, all those.
Yeah.
I would argue that the golden age of sitcom is from 2005 to like 2015, 16.
I don't think that that's wrong. I think that because the big difference, and I've talked to a few people about this.
Yeah.
I know for me, it is very difficult for me to deal with laugh tracks anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that it's tough because it's like, what is a sitcom is always a question that comes up.
Yeah.
Because I think that we started to go to these single camera sitcoms where, you know, it was something like Scrubs where you were shooting it like a movie. You weren't shooting it live in front of an audience.
Yeah.
And that was what you're doing with Community and what you were doing with, like, I think that it just let so much more freedom for creativity.
Yeah.
Because of that generation, like, I agree with you in those years, like when they were doing those single shot shows.
Yeah.
That is the best time. And like you look over at like CBS that was just like clinging tooth and nail to like the old way.
Yeah.
Like the only show that really shined in that was How I Met Your Mother. And even that like started to fall apart towards the end.
Big Bang.
I just could never get into Big Bang.
I couldn't get into it either.
Though,
but what I'm saying is like, that's one of those shows.
Well, CBS was killing it in that realm.
Yeah.
Because I think the difference is, here's where you had the problem. NBC was making shows for our generation of kids who also were kind of over watching things on television.
Yeah.
So like Community, The Office, Parks and Rec, Scrubs, all of these shows were great shows, but most of us weren't watching it as it aired. We were watching it the next day on Hulu or on demand or something like that. But CBS was like, you know who's reliable? People in their 40s and 50s who want to watch TV at 8 p.m. and they want the familiarity of stuff that they remember with laugh tracks to let them know that it's funny. And like CBS just crushed it when they were just like, we're going to give you 2.5 Men, Big Bang Theory, How I Met Your Mother, and Two Broke Girls. And you're just
shows that like looking at them could be interchangeable.
It really could be. And like, and it's so funny because I do think that How I Met Your Mother stands out among those 4 shows as the tightest script among them. But like when I compare How I Met Your Mother to all of the shows we just named on NBC, it's like it doesn't even hold a candle.
And even like stepping away from NBC, ABC had Raising Hope, The Middle.
God, Raising Hope was so fucking good.
Do we consider Oh, I forgot. New Girl is definitely up there.
I was
well.
so late to New Girl too, and it's all right. It's I like it. I don't love it on the same level that I love a lot of those other shows, but I think it's because I don't have the nostalgia for it. I think I'm going to put this and Scrubs as like 2 back-to-back episodes. We'll talk about Scrubs next week, but like, I mean, those are 2 shows where it's like there is a nostalgia tied to it now for me.
Yeah.
Whereas like New Girl, I watched it for the first time during the pandemic, and it was just like, yeah, this is fun, but it's like it wasn't like groundbreaking to me the way that I feel like Community and like all of those other shows were.
I get behind that. Would you consider Always Sunny?
I think Always Sunny is. I mean, I think you could count it in there, but I think it's almost like the anti-sitcom.
Yeah,
like it probably has its closest ties to like Seinfeld in the sense of like you should not be idolizing any of these characters.
Yeah.
They're all monsters, but it goes so much further.
Yeah.
And I think that it could only be done off of basic cable.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that it's like if HBO did a sitcom. That's what Always Sunny feels like.
I get behind that, yeah.
Like it's like it's too aggressive and too like, because I think that Seinfeld is the rare exception. I think for the most part, sitcoms have to be very low stakes and very like comforting and like you feel safe watching it. I never feel safe watching Always Sunny. Like I can't do more than like 2 or 3 episodes before like my anxiety. It's the same thing like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like my anxiety just gets too up. And I'm just like, I can't keep watching this. Yeah. People are just doing really bad things, and it's making me very upset. We are going to definitely talk about the Always Sunny Christmas episode one of these days.
That's one of my must-watches every year.
And I have the perfect guest for that. I have a friend who is like the most hardcore Always Sunny human being.
Excellent. I'm very excited for that.
Jenny, your phone might be ringing soon.
There you go. So yeah, my favorite era of television, like 2005 to 2015.
That's
probably
a good time, man. I think we talked about 30 Rock.
I think, we talked about 30 Rock.
Tune in next week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about my favorite show.
Talk about your favorite show. Community is still number 1, 30 Rock close number 2. But you know what? As we always say, we just both really liking things.
We like liking things around here.
So, Merry LudaChristmas, Matt.
Merry LudaChristmas to you.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.